Yeah, I'm Luke.
I'm Lauren. Hi.
We're the urban farmers that G alluded to earlier. Yeah, we're broadcasting from the lovely inner west of Sydney here in the Eora Nation. Yeah, we're going to basically talk about what we do at work and then how we can translate that at home. The idea of growing at home can be a little bit scary for a lot of people. And so we're here to kind of demystify some of those fears. Growing food at home was really normal for like our parents' generation and the generation before it. A lot of us would have memories of visiting grandparents and seeing the big lemon tree in the backyard, or getting some produce out of the veggie patch. And you know, we want to sort of bring some of these elements back into our everyday lives, but we recognize that a lot of us now live in units and apartments and townhouses, and so we need be a bit agile and sort of nimble in how we execute that. So we're going to show you sort of what we do.
Yeah, so something we want to do is from Farmwall, being able to encourage people to be able to grow from home, really with some basic skills and understanding, and make it accessible to everyone. And you can do it in a really small space. Farmwall's a pretty technological kind of engineered machine, but we can do microgreens from your kitchen. You don't need a big backyard. You don't even need a balcony. And you can use low-tech methods from home with things that you have around the house. And we, you know, also want to encourage people being proud of being able to grow food from home, even if it's, you know, just your garnishes or just your microgreens, just your herbs that you can add on your to your salad or to your sandwich, or to just to anything that you have. And we want to be proud of that. And part of that is just starting with what you have. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can with things you have around you.
Yeah, so that's sort of that last statement. So quote that Milk would use is, start where we are, use what you have, do what you can. It's like, don't think you have to go buy 10 acres and start a farm. Like, just start in your unit, like grow some herbs on your windowsill, things like that. Use what you've got lying around you. So microgreens, so G sort of touched on them earlier. What are they? Well, basically every plant is a microgreen. A microgreen really just refers to the first couple of weeks of growth of a plant. In our context, we particularly refer to like leafy green vegetables and also like herb varieties. So some of these you would have heard of, like snow peas, radish, things like that, broccoli. And we also expand into some other sort of funkier like leafy greens that maybe you haven't heard of before, but translate really well in the microgreen setting. And the great thing about microgreens is they only take about 2 weeks to grow. So a lot of other produce, if you're planting broccoli or cabbage or something like that, you're looking at 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks from planting that seed to when the produce is ready to harvest. And for a lot of people, that's not very sustainable. Maybe they can't keep up that interest for that long, but also it's a long time to wait to eat your food. So microgreens are great because you can basically harvest them after 2 weeks of growing, which is, you know, really great for that kind of instant gratification. And also you can keep up, see that progress, and it's really like encouraging to the people who use it. But how do you eat them?
Yeah, so this is a tray that we've had growing for 2 weeks now, and this is pea shoots. You can see they've got a fair bit of growth here, and the idea is you just can cut them and harvest them straight away. So you can snip the tip off. You can probably wait till they're a lot longer for these pea shoots, but you know, at any stage when they've started their leaf growth, then you can harvest them and eat them, and they're really great to have fresh like that. And
that pea shoot I just had, like, it's so juicy, there's so much flavor, and that's what you don't get in the supermarket. So G sort of referred earlier to all the sort of panic buying and things like that. And the truth is, like, there's no need. Australia produces enough food for 75 million people, and there's roughly 25 million of us. So basically 3 times as much food as there are people. So we're fine from that perspective, but the issue is distribution and the networks and the way that our food gets from the farms to our cities. And that's why you see empty supermarket shelves. So we see like growing at home and urban farming and growing as a little piece in that puzzle of trying to fix that food system and make fresh produce available in the centers where people are located and where they need it at the time that they need it. And so like harvesting straight from a microgreen tray, like, I guarantee you you haven't tasted anything like it. So that's something we're really like trying to encourage people to do around home. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
We'll do a seeding demo. I'll pop it over here.
So this is the kind of trays that we're using, that the Farmwall unit actually uses, and that we use in our city operation. But you know, if you don't have these kinds of horticultural trays, you can use things that you have lying around the house, like recycling containers. Yeah, like the little polystyrene containers that you get that we all want to try and reuse and recycle. Even, you know, old tins, things like that.
And we're all feeling guilty right now because they won't let us use our keep cups anymore at the cafe, which is totally understandable. And so another great medium is you take away coffee cups. So instead of throwing them in the bin after you've had your flat white or your latte and your 15 minutes government allowed exercise each day, bring it home, wash it out, and it makes a great medium for growing plants because the inside is lined with a waterproof sort of like lining, obviously, because it's holding coffee. So it can hold soil or coconut coir and moisture very well. And it's cheap, it's lightweight, and you got heaps of them if you go in and get a coffee a few times a week. So hold on to your coffee cups, rinse them out, and they basically become cute little planters that you can put all around the house.
So with microgreens, we use this hemp fiber mat that G mentioned, which is made from just hemp, and it's just been soaked. But you could use paper towel or toilet paper. Everyone's got a lot of that right now. And essentially, yeah, you can fold it onto a little tray and just moisten the base, which we're going to be scattering our seeds on as a growing base.
Yeah. So while Lauren does that, I'll just explain sort of like why we're doing what we do. So we're just trying to replicate, and this is some radish seed. This is the glass, right? With no fancy seeding implements. You can sprinkle it with your hands. You can sprinkle out of a glass or a coffee cup. We're basically replicating the conditions that seeds grow under. So how do seeds germinate in the wild? They fall off the tree, or they get blown in the wind, or the fruit falls off and the fruit rots away and the seed hits the soil, and it'll just sit there, and seeds can sit there for months and months on end, and then one day it'll rain. And then when it rains, the seed gets wet, the soil gets wet, and the seed sort of falls under the soil because maybe there's been some leaf matter falling on it over time. And so basically what you've got this moist sort of damp seed, and you've got a lack of light. And that's what we're replicating here because the seed is used to being under the ground. So Lauren's going to spray it. And this is a normal spray bottle. So you've probably got one hanging around in your laundry, or you can duck down to the shops and get one. If you don't have a spray bottle, that's fine. You can just like get your hand in a cup of water and just sort of sprinkle it over. Again, like real low tech here. You don't need to go out and get a lot of equipment. Most of this you can do with whatever's in your house right now. I guarantee if you all got up for 10 minutes, you'll be able to find everything here that we're growing with. Maybe not the seeds, which are a bit of an issue at the moment. But again, Australia hasn't run out of seeds. The only reason seeding places are not taking orders is just because they're behind in orders. So some big commercial seed growers have all put out, hey, we've got plenty of seed stock. We're not running low. We've just got 4 weeks worth of orders in the space of a day. And so they only have such a big warehouse and so many post boxes and so many staff. So again, like it's just kind of recognizing that Australia's in a really good position here. We've got a lot of food, we've got a lot of seed stock. And so we just need to like do our part to sort of minimize and only buy what we need when we need it, and things will settle down. And also a lot of your local nurseries and that still have seeds. So the big kind of warehouse like the Bunnings and stuff like that, they're all sold out. But I've popped down to little small nurseries and they've still had great selection of seeds. This is another great chance to shop local and support your local businesses, and they'll give you really great advice as well. Yeah, so the radish here, what happens next?
Cool. So essentially, we once that they've been misted, just so that the when the seeds get wet, it kind of encourages the germination to activate in the seeds. So we just want to be covering them in some way that allows reduces the amount of light. And we've just got the same empty tray, but say you've seeded in a little pot here.
This is a ricotta pot because we've been eating so much pasta lately, so I've been stirring through lots of ricotta, and I kept that tub. It by itself would make a great growing medium because you just poke some holes in the bottom, and then you can put some soil in there, some coconut coir, which is just like a byproduct of the coconut industry. It's basically the husk and the shell that's all crushed up, and you soak it in water. And this is, I think Lauren went and got some beets the other day, yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of our produce comes, shrink wrapped in these polystyrene trays with all that on top. So instead of feeling bad about that, again, throwing this straight into landfill, you can keep it and it becomes a little lid. And so this is basically the DIY version of what we have here. This is like a commercial setup, but again, you don't need this at your home. You can do it in an old ricotta tub. You can do it in a tin of tomatoes, which again, we are all going through lots of right now, an old pasta sauce bottle, or a coffee cup. Anything like that that will basically hold some soil and hold some water, you've got yourself a pot. And so we would generally leave them covered like
the first few days.
about 4 or 5 days initially. You need to check on it as well. So have a little peek after 2 or 3 days and give it another spray with a bottle. Just want to keep everything damp. And then if they're not quite grown yet, you put the lid back on. You'll get a feel, as we obviously this is just a short example of it. All different seeds germinate at different rates, but once you start experimenting with them, you'll get a feel for how they look once they've germinated. And when to take the lid off, basically. And then once the lid comes off, that's when the light hits it. And what happens when the light hits it?
Yeah, so when you see some growth, leaf growth, that's when you want to give the microgreens access to light, and keep it in a place. I mean, even a bright spot on your kitchen bench is nice. Nowhere that has direct sun, but we want it to be in a bright space, and just to make sure that that bottom tray, the hemp or newspaper or paper towel doesn't dry out, because they really need access to moisture and water to grow. And really, at any point when they've started shooting their leaves, you can harvest them and eat them at any point. And even if you cut them, they can still last cut and washed and dried in your fridge, the same way you would go and buy alfalfa sprouts or rocket pre-bagged days and days ago. You can put them in your fridge and they'll last 7 to 10 days easily, and they'll be really fresh. So you can still do that if you're harvesting a whole tray. Then
like my fridge right now. So obviously when the workplace shutdown started happening, we had a lot of produce already growing because we plan ahead sort of 2 to 3 weeks. So we did harvest a lot of that ourselves. And my fridge currently, I think 2 out of my 4 shelves are completely stacked with microgreens in just little Ziploc bags, but they're still so fresh because they're literally just harvested. Whereas a lot of the produce that you get in the big supermarkets are harvested days and days, even weeks beforehand. A lot is kept in cold storage. And then brought out as the shells deplete. So the beautiful thing about microgreens is that really it's going from farm to plate or paddock to plate really within minutes. You can cut some right as you're cooking or right as you finish cooking, and you can use it to dress up your dishes and add a little bit of extra flavor and a bit of extra nutrition. And it's much tastier than any kind of little leafy greens that you're going to get from your supermarkets.
And often it's something that you can't buy. You'll have it in a cafe or restaurant. Because a lot of the producers of the microgreens go directly to cafes and restaurants and things like that as garnishes. But you can grow it from home, and it's not something you can easily get at any shops or farmers markets maybe. And it's just a really easy way to have that positive experience from growing food in the city. That you can, within 2 weeks you can have this amazing different variety of plant that you may not have been able to see in the shops and harvest it and enjoy it and start that process over again. And that's kind of what we want to do, is bring that skill and knowledge to people, being able to grow, even if it's just a small amount of produce for themselves at home.
And one thing G alluded to is the new program we'll be launching. Part of that is what we call like the mini farm, and it's basically like a mini Farmwall. So it's a small aquaponic system. I'm gonna get Lauren to tilt the camera.
Yeah.
And like every good chef show, here's one I prepared earlier. So this is basically a small fish tank down here where the fish live. And this is the tray that we had earlier, but it's been growing here for the last little while. This is just a normal light. So it's not like hot or anything like that. It's not a fancy, this is just a light from, like here or whatever it is. So again, fairly easy for you to maintain in your own home. And the way the system works is the fish generate waste, and then that waste is taken up by the plants, and that waste is converted into nitrogen. And nitrogen is the primary sort of nutrient for leafy green vegetables. So it's a simple, really easy setup, really great for kids as well, because they can interact with live animals, but with live produce that's growing. They can watch the germination happen, they can watch the vegetables grow, and it's a really exciting sort of thing to watch happen, and not something that a lot of people get exposed to, even a lot of adults now. Like I remember when I sort of first got into urban farming 4 or so years ago, I'd never seen an eggplant grow on the eggplant plant? Like, did they grow on the ground? Did they come from a tree? I had no idea. And then I saw it sitting on this bush in the ground, and I was like, oh, cool, that's an eggplant. And so I think for this, it's really important, this sort of food literacy that we start engaging, especially our sort of the younger generation, with this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, the mini farm is something we're really proud of, and it's a really great kind of at-home version of the Farmwall. So let's turn it back. I think that sort of covers most things. We'll be in the chat for a little bit if you guys have any questions. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed sort of the little at-home demo. And again, the message is keep it simple. So yeah, old tin cans, old pots and plastic containers, and you need all that old Tupperware at the back of the cupboard that you haven't seen the lid for in 3 years. Great. Instead of like just letting it hang around there, grab that old Tupperware out and use that as a growing medium. That becomes basically a nice little pot for you. So keep it simple. Everyone can grow at home. You don't need a green thumb. It's in all of our blood. It's in all of our DNA. Like humans want to nurture, and we want to create, and we want to grow things. So yeah, I hope you can join us on the journey as we sort of try to demystify urban farming and bring you fresh produce straight from your windowsill. Probably back over to you now, G.